Hey, welcome back. Today we're continuing to build out the 392, and today we're installing a WARN Zeon winch.
So this is the 10,000 pound synthetic rope version. Hopefully, Warren has included all the bolts and nuts that we're going to need, unlike my install, which I'll put the link to that. Was missing some bolts and took a week to do because I had to wait for them to ship extras. But
We did actually check this time, and we have everything.
You killing the suspense, man. Got already ready to go powder coated Fairlead.
That's from Factor 55.
And then also got the mounting plate. So this is a much easier install since we don't have to disassemble everything. It just sits on top. So this should go pretty quick.
All right, so step one, we got to get the rope in there.
Yeah, so with Zeons, the nice thing is they're American made, but they don't come pre-spooled. So we're going to have to spool the rope ourselves. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to it.
Let's do it. All right, so I got the adapter plate for the bumper from Go Rhino. Put that right there, and we're going to drop the winch in right over it. All right, so the way this attaches is the bolt goes in from the bottom, and it goes into these nuts that just go right here. Then they're lip. They will slide out if you're not careful, but they actually stay in there pretty well.
Depending on your installation, you can tape those off with a little piece of electrical tape or something to help them stay in there, which then you can pull off later.
Yeah, so we're just going to put them in. We're going to carefully lift it up without tilting them. They should stay in there. Depending on how close you're installing it to your bumper, these may just be a little difficult to get to once it's already on there, but not impossible. You can always adjust a little bit.
All right, let's put it on.
Let's do it. All right, so actually, right as we put it on, I realized that after we install it, I'm not going to be able to get these bolts in for the Fairlead. So we're going to install the Fairlead first. We just push our bolts in from behind. Maybe I will need the longer ones.
Yeah, that's a beefy Fairlead, so probably going to need to. Luckily, Warren includes multiple different hardware depending on your use case. So just use what makes sense for your install.
You can see the nuts through the holes, and we're just gonna hand thread them through.
So what you want to do is from the top, you want to line up the plate, the winch, get everything lined up so that you can just from here thread the bolts straight in.
They're in there. Now we're gonna go out, just make so many micro adjustments to make sure everything is perfectly lined up and flush. Then we'll tighten them. All right, so we're beyond hand tightening. I think we're still not going to go all the way in. We're going to make sure that as we tighten this, nothing shifts above before doing the final tightening. Depending on what you have down here, like these lights actually are making it really difficult to get my hand in there.
All right, now that we're tightened most of the way, I'm gonna check final alignment and lock these down, and we'll be right back. All right, with everything in and tightened down, the next step is gonna be to run the electrical so that we can wind the rope onto the drum.
Okay, so we're just gonna drop it behind. The bumper actually has a couple notches for wiring. But we're gonna get this through. We'll get it behind the bumper, and then we're gonna run it behind the grill and up to the battery.
So we're gonna run it through the same kind of cavity as we run all the other wires up into the engine compartment. So I'll be right back. So we routed the cables just straight up through the engine bay, kind of like what we did with all the other lighting wires. Over on the outside of the fuse box. So remember, this is a 392, so the battery and the fuse box are flip-flop. The battery is actually all the way back by the firewall. Down the side, and actually the positive is just long enough to reach the positive terminal on the battery. The negative has a little bit of slack to it. So now we're going to go ahead and attach them. So the positive terminal actually does not have a nut on there, so you will have to provide your own. So that's it. Now we're gonna fire it up, test it, make sure everything works, and then we're gonna go ahead and spool the synthetic rope.
All right, so next step is we're going to need to spool the rope. Before you do any of that, you want to take the protective sleeve. I'll snip this.
Don't snip the rope.
Try not to. And you want to put this on because it needs to go from this end and then it'll go all the way to the other end. So Felix is doing that. So they give you a spool of wire that you want to, that you're going to use to basically pull it through. It is a very tight fit when you pull it through. So with that, you come in from behind. You can do this before or after mounting it. If you do it before, you'll have to manually wind it. We decided to mount it and connect it to power first so that we can use the winch to actually wind it. So what I'm going to do is, we have the wire through, take some pliers, gonna wrap it around there so it's not going anywhere. We're just gonna start yanking on it, trying to work it through. You're just trying to get the loop all the way through. All right, so you work it in there. Should look something like that, and then we're gonna pull the rope back through, and that's what locks it into place.
So there's that little notch in the pin. You can actually use a screwdriver and kind of hammer it in if you need to.
So with a combination of pulling and a little bit of hammering, this is what it should look like when everything is in. Then we have the rope coming out here, and we're just gonna use the winch to reel it in.
So while you're doing this, you just want to kind of wrap it back and forth in even lines. We'll pretension this later. I did a video on how to pretension a synthetic rope. I'll put a link here somewhere. You do want to wear gloves because the friction, you don't want to cut up and burn your hands. So let me actually grab a pair and be right back.
All right, so we got it all spooled up in there.
It's not pretty right now, but we're gonna have to pretension it anyway and basically unravel it also. We'll do a better job when we do that.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna, I do have an ultra hook coming, but in the meantime, I'll use the WARN one, which I will say it's kind of disappointing what WARN gives you compared to lower end companies like even Smitty Build gives you a pretty nice hook on it. But anyway, I do have an ultra hook coming, so should be arriving any day. Just hook it on here, pull it in a little bit.
That's
We're
it.
done.
Yep. Stay tuned. We'll do another pretensioning video. It'll be easier this time because I'll have a helping hand. You always want to try to do 2 people if you can to do a better job. Last time I had to do it on my own. But
you didn't even ask last time.
I didn't. You were like, what is this Jeep stuff video thing happening? So it is important for all of you that have a synthetic rope. It is actually very important for you to pretension it so that you don't experience any malfunctions or catastrophes during your first pull. So there are plenty of videos out there, discussing it. So feel free, to look at that. But watch ours. So that's it. What's left?
Gotta duck it.
On to the next one.
On to the next one.